welcome to Whose Turn Is It Anyway, a podcast all about our gaming group and being a cardboard hoarder. I'm JP, who's not the current first player, but filling in for Davey, who's feeling under the weather, and I'm joined by other players, Adrian and Kerley, as we return for another round of niche number 1's. How we doing, chaps?
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, shame about Davey. Bless him.
It happens.
It happens. So yeah, we have an unplanned episode, so pretty much like every other episode, right?
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
No change. We'll last minute we'll throw in, but we're here to talk about board games, which we can do forever. So there we go. Anything happening in your lives that's of notable interest?
Nothing for me. Just life got in the way of living, I think, is the best way to put it. So yeah, I've kind of been out of the board gaming loop for a few weeks now. Sort of squeezed in whatever I can, but yeah, no, for me it's kind of been a bit, only a handful of board games over the last sort of month or so for me. But you know, these things happen, so that's me. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you, Kerley, been on holiday?
Yeah, been on holiday, kind of. More like off work. My friend's been visiting from Korea. I believe he's now a listener, so hello James, if you're listening.
Hi James, thanks for listening.
So yeah, he's been over staying at mine for the last 10 days. We went to Cornwall for a few in between, but it's nice because I've been introducing him to some board games and I've got him hooked, so another one bites the dust.
I've heard a lot.
Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah, we played board games most nights.
Every night.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We don't have a TV in this house. Like you must play board games.
Netflix. What is this thing you speak of?
We didn't watch a single episode of anything.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of jealous now, but there we go. But yeah, I've returned back from France, literally last weekend, so going for the holiday blues, pretty much like yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when you have one day off in between your holiday and going back to work, which just sucks.
Yeah.
But let's get the violins out and cry, but let's now. Shall we move on and talk about games? Let's move on. Let's cheer ourselves up.
Yeah.
Cool. So, let's talk about Hex. What's been hitting the table? What have we been playing? So, Adrian, I'm going to start with you because you said you've not been playing much.
No.
But what have you been playing?
So I've got quite a few games off of the shelf of shame, as it were, or like off my bucket list of games that I wanted to play. But I thought I'd talk about Raiders of the North Sea.
Nice.
I'm very late to the party on that one, I appreciate. But just another worker placement game that sort of shows you how much you can do with that basic core mechanism. Have you guys played Raiders?
No, I haven't heard about it. Never played it.
No. So essentially what you do is there's different coloured workers. You own one worker at a time. You put it down into the spot, and depending upon the colour that you put in, that will give you a different bonus. And then where there is another one, you pick it up and you get the bonus off of that one, and you do that every round. So you put one down and you pick one up, and you get colour bonus of the one you put down and the colour bonus of the one you pick up. And it's just, it sounded so like, oh, that sounds quite cool. But man, there's a load of strategy. Like, I don't really want to put that down there because that means they'll get the bonus of picking it up. And I know they want that. But I also know they want that thing as well. And so you're kind of really watching for what they want. So you kind of do that to start off with. And then slowly, because it's Viking themed, you slowly go raiding, which means you put down your coloured worker. And again, only certain coloured workers can go. So if you want to raid a harbour, you can kind of put the lowest value worker if you want there. If you want to raid like the big inland village fortresses, I think they're called, you have to use the highest value workers. And then once you've raided it, you then pick up the other colour worker that's available. And what it does is it slowly shifts the low value workers out for the high value workers. But they're only high value workers in the sense of raiding. They're actually quite often low value workers at your home base. And it's a marvellous mechanism. And again, every time I say to myself I've got too many worker placement games, I play another one and realise actually I could have a whole library of worker placement games and I think I'd still be happy with them because it's just yet another little twist. You know, we've played Architects and talked about what Shem Phillips has done with that to worker placement before, and just all of these like little twists on worker placements are just, I find them amazing. And it's just another game that I sort of thought, I've heard lots about it, I'll give it a go. It's another worker placement, but whatever, and just come away from it going, yeah, it's different to every other worker placement I've played by quite a bit.
Yeah, I love the fact, I mean, I love worker placement. I think a lot of people love worker placement games. I mean, again, how many times can we say worker placement?
Yeah, go for a record.
Worker placement. But no, it's I just love when they twist that mechanic.
Yeah.
And rather than just be, I put a dude down, I get a thing, you'll go. It's like you say, you put a dude down, you get a thing, but you also get something else because of the different colours or whatever. I love subtle twists, and yeah, I can imagine that kind of, I wouldn't say breaks your brain, but makes you think about the other players and the interaction of the other players a lot more, rather than just I'm blocking you.
Yeah, because you in this one you're almost not blocking someone.
No.
What you're doing is you're giving them an opportunity, and so you're instead of
the
thinking
reverse, isn't it?
Yeah, instead of thinking what am I blocking, up the board it is, but like your home base, which is you play the first 4 or 5 turns easily without really like raiding or anything like that. You really are thinking, like, what do I not want to give my opponent as such, rather than what do I want to block. It's just that interesting twist on that play, on that mechanism.
Nice. So is it the same publisher as Architects? It's all the same?
Yeah, Shem Phillips and Garfield Games.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's got the same art style.
Yeah.
So Raiders of Scythia was the kind of natural evolution of it. It took most of the Raiders of the North Sea mechanic and put in some of the expansions.
Yeah.
But totally different art style.
Yes.
And I wasn't so taken with that art style, so that's why I decided to get Raiders of the North Sea when it came up on a sale, and I was just like, yeah, I'll grab that. And yeah, it's got exactly the same art style as Architects and the same designer.
Is it the Miko? Does the art?
Oh, I don't know. I just know I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a very unique art style. I think it is. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. But yeah, I do like it. It's that kind of cartoony style. I think it's the same in Endless Winter. That's coming out this year.
It's kind of got. I don't know if it's the same artist or not, but it's certainly got that same feel of sort of. It's cartoony, but it's got sort of a classical twist on that cartoony look. It looks like it fits in with like Vikings and medieval and all that kind of stuff. It's really. So I really enjoyed it. Amongst all the games that sort of came off the shelf of shame, it was the one that sort of made me go, I can still have more room for these kind of games in my collection.
I really like worker placement games, and anything that can put, like I say, a little twist, maybe make you think a little bit more, maybe thinking about other people a bit more. It always just adds more depth to the game, which is always a positive. Like, I'm coming round to the Lords of Waterdeep. We were talking about how it's really good, but it is actually quite low level.
It's the base level for worker placement, right?
Exactly.
And then everything else, I think, like there's quite a few games that can be a bit like that, where just like I'm blocking a space and that's all it's really doing. But I think there's so many people now that have managed to put a twist in or do something different or whatever. So.
Well, you definitely make it sound more interesting, because I've heard of Raiders for a long time, but I've never really been intrigued by it to even give it a try. But now you've explained some of the kind of core mechanics. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I might enjoy that.
Well, I'd heard it as a comparison to Champions of Midgard.
Oh, okay.
The dice chucking thing, and yes, they're both Viking themed, but I would say they're very. Apart from coming out roughly the same time and being Viking themed, I think there's quite a bit of difference between the two. So we'll have to get it to the table sometime. It's I really enjoyed my playthrough of it.
Count me in.
Yeah, keen. How about you, Kerley?
So I played a whole plethora of new games.
As we said at the start.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, they're all games for me, trying to introduce my friend to some, favourites of mine that I think he'd like. But probably the pick of those that I would talk about is Gugong. He absolutely loved it. It's based in China. But it's basically around when a new emperor took over and they outlawed bribery. And the whole of the system was based around bribery at the time. And when the new emperor came in and outlawed it, they had to find inventive and clever ways around that new law that had come in. And the new law, and basically what they actually did was they would say, I give you a gift, Adrian, of apples, and you give me back a golden statue. That means you're bribing me, basically. But we're actually we're exchanging gifts.
But we call it gift exchange.
All right, and that's the idea behind the game. And apart from the fact that it's not worker placement, it kind of is. Because you've got cards instead of workers, and these cards have a different value on them depending on the gift that you're giving. And the idea is that you go to a space down on the board and you have to swap one of higher value in your hand for a lower value one on the board itself. And if you do that, then you get to perform the action of that space, which is essentially you visiting a lord's land and doing something in those areas. And then that, where you've taken the one up from the board, where you've swapped it, that becomes your hand for next turn. So it becomes an interesting kind of rotation where you don't want to go too silly and go too hard, because then your next hand will be rubbish for next turn. And it just, there's a lot of complication there and a lot of kind of deep thinking. But the actual to teach it is really easy, which is one of the reasons why I selected it. But just really good fun, really satisfying. And I love the theme. Like, the artwork's amazing. The theme in feudal sort of China is just really interesting to me. So you guys have played it.
I own it, so I've played it quite a few times. I think I introduced you to it, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you probably did.
Back in the day. And you played it, Adrian?
I just played it recently with yourself, Kerley, and I'd kind of done a bit of research because I'd been on my list at one point to buy, and the bit that I'd never really seen in the very small bit of like, let's see what this game is about, is the idea that your hand, all the cards you pick up off the board becomes your hand next turn.
Yeah.
And as soon as you realise that, as soon as you sort of taught that rule, I was like, now this game makes sense. Like, because it is that. I literally want to trade where I can just one up. I want to trade, I want to take a 7 off the table and put an 8 down, ideally. Because then you're getting the most, out of it. And so, I found that made the game, like, otherwise, I say it's kind of a bit of action point and a bit of worker kind of placement or card placement in an area. But that idea of you are setting up your next turn's hand, are you happy to have a rubbish next turn for a good this turn kind of thing, or doing exactly what you want, or do you have to play that little bit of this isn't exactly what I want, but it will give me a much better hand next turn. I found that little puzzle was a lot of the crux of that game, and where the puzzle came into it.
I like the little extras that it throws in as well. And we won't go into all of the rules now, but you've got, if you swap over and at the end of the turn your hand are certain numbers, you get extra workers for next turn. And you go down and you trade, and that allows you to have different type of workers, and it allows you to have more cards in your hand, which effectively gives you more turns. It's just, there's a lot below the surface on that game, I always think, considering the fact that it doesn't take very long to teach. Especially because my friend who I taught it to had barely played a board game ever. I mean, it was Lords of Waterdeep. I mean, it literally went from I played games when I was a kid to Lords of Waterdeep to Gugong to Terraforming Mars in the end, So it was just
You didn't wheel out on Mars then?
Not on Mars just yet. Considering the fact it took me 2 games, and I'm still like, what? Okay, I got some victory points for that. I got no idea how.
It'd be quite funny. Your friends stayed with you for nearly 2 weeks, and you've gotten to a Lacerda game.
That would be the aim. Right?
Yeah, well done. But no, it's a cracking game. As I say, I own it. It's great fun. I think the puzzle is what interests me every time with that. The whole hand management, as you guys have said, it's just. Yeah, it's interesting. And I think what I've really enjoyed about Gugong, when we played a lot of it over lockdown, obviously not during lockdown when we couldn't see each other, but during when we could, once the rules had relaxed. And we played quite a lot, didn't we? We had, 3, 4, 5, 6 games with Becky as well. And they were just, like, really competitive.
Yeah.
Like, score-wise, end up being so close, like, I might have this, and no, you won. But, yeah, I just really enjoyed the kind of get into a game and kind of get into that level with that game. And a lot of fun memories of Gugong. Need to try the expansion.
Yes,
Tangent,
definitely.
or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's a load of little expansions,
modules.
isn't it? They're little modules. They look interesting.
Puts the you got the stairs and the
Path to the Emperor.
That's it. Yeah, it puts little obstacles and gates in the way that you have to pay.
Okay.
And they're randomised. It's got like this whole peasants revolt thing that's going on. That looks quite interesting. But yeah, I'll have to.
We'll have to get that in.
Have to give it going. But
for yourself?
Me, obviously, I've been in France, so we took a few games on holiday with Rob, obviously from the podcast as well. And it wasn't just me and Rob go to France; we were with our families. We played a bit of Dice Throne, Marvel Dice Throne. We played a bit of Imperial Assault. We managed to bring all of his boxes.
Imperial Assault.
Yeah, well, because we drove there
in France.
He's got the boot space.
Yeah,
so we brought all that. We only played it once though.
Sorry, kids, you can bring the buck in Spain. I've brought Imperial Assault instead.
But we got a game of that. But the game we played the most of was Netrunner. And this was a bit of a surprise for me because you probably heard, if you ever listened to the very, very first podcast episode that we did, or maybe even episode 1, Netrunner's a game that I've got Ian into the hobby. I've got Rob into the hobby with Netrunner. And it's kind of one of my old school games that I have very, very fond memories of. And collected a lot of cards, realised I'd never played them, and then sold it. Sounds familiar with Marvel Champions. But I haven't sold it. But for those that don't know what Netrunner is a cyberpunk kind of dystopian future card game, asymmetric card game, where one of you plays like a runner or a hacker, and the other one plays as a corporation. And the kind of the point of the game is that the corporation has these agendas, these cards that they're trying to advance and score, and once they get to 7 agenda points, they win, and the hackers then trying to break through their servers and steal those agendas and basically score the points that way. So you've got this very asymmetric puzzle of the corporation trying to create this maze for the runner to try and not get through, essentially, and the runners then kind of installing like resources and hardware and programs to try and circumnavigate these firewalls that the corporation's laying down. It's just a bloody... I love it, and I kind of regret selling it back in the day. And I watched the Shut Up and Sit Down's recent video on it, which is, can you get into Netrunner in 2022?
I saw that, yeah.
And I just thought, I'll give that a watch. And I just thought, God, I really want to play this again. Like, it really just like sparked
What was
off.
the verdict that they gave?
Yeah, well, because of it's been reignited by Project Nisei. Whenever that was, 2017, once Netrunner died and got abandoned by Fantasy Flight Games, and they kind of continued it as a community fan charity, not charity, but a fan
not profit,
non-profit. That's the word I'm going to use. Organisation to keep the game alive and keep people playing the game. And I knew about it at the time. I just thought, it's dead. It's going to go away. This thing's going to last 6 months, and away we go. But kind of just looking into it and researching it and looking at actually what they've done over the past 4 years, it's quite impressive, to be honest. And they've kind of redesigned a new kind of core set that you can buy, and you can kind of bolster that with some of the original cards from the other core sets, the revised cores that you got. And I kind of have just a desire to have a smaller collection of it, and that's it. I just keep that, and that's a game of Netrunner I can just wheel out. There's a bit of deck building in there that we can do, but not this big growth of cards and stuff that I'll probably never ever play. So that's what I've done. So I kind of bought 2 packs, and you have to buy your own tokens because it doesn't come with that anymore, like the old core sets do, and just give it a go. And we played a lot on holiday, and it was a blast.
Nice.
Honestly, loved just running servers, and I think it's a good memory that Rob managed to actually kill me. He played the corp most, and he managed to do play some Jinteki cards, which you'll know, Kerley, having played a lot of Netrunner, where you kind of bait the runner into traps and kill them, and he managed to pull something off, which was pretty good, and he was very happy with himself. And actually, that was my favourite game, even though I lost it. Because it was kind of like it got competitive. It got to a place where now this is competitive, this is fun. So there we go.
It's really a game similar to, I guess, Ian, is the fact I got into it through Ian, because I knew Ian before I knew you, of course. And he introduced me to Netrunner. My mate, JP, who I didn't know at the time, has introduced me to Netrunner, and we played the hell out of it. We bought a whole big bunch.
He did,
and we played it a lot as 2-player.
And
I think I overdone it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I ended up, when Ian moved out, because we used to live together at the time, when he moved out, he bought me out of the Netrunner set. But I'm not saying I'll regret it, because I haven't played it and I wanted to play it, but now you're talking about it, it's making me like, oh, I bloody love that game.
Yeah.
I really do. It's one of my favourites. It's my favourite card game, and I've played them all. Well, I haven't played your Pokemons and Yu-Gi-Ohs and stuff, but
Well, stop making wild claims.
I was going to say, I've played them all apart from 2 of the 3 most popular sets that exist.
But they're for kids, Adrian. Only kids play those.
No, you didn't go there. You didn't go there.
There's deliberate.
Please
bait
post
thrown
all
out
complaints
there.
directly
Deliberate
to.
bait put out there. But yeah, anyway, really looking forward to giving that a go. So I might even be tempted to invest a little bit as well.
Well, yeah, I've got a couple of sets now. We can do a little bit of light games and get back into it. So anyway,
Shut Up and Sit Down strikes again.
Yeah, thanks.
They're
guys.
responsible for a lot of money leaving my bank account.
Damn right. Cool. Let's get on to the main event. So let's talk about the main topic of the day, which is niche number 1s. Adrian, it's good to have you on this episode because you're the brainchild of niche number 1s for the first round.
I was, yeah.
You were. So it's really cool to have you back for the second round of
You
niche
can tell by
number
his
1s.
smile, he's really proud of it.
I am. It's on my CV at this point.
Yeah.
What have you done? Niche number 1s? What have you done? I've done it, it's fine. But no, we're back with a whole new set of niche number 1s. If you don't know what the hell we're talking about, I'm going to say, Adrian, what's a niche number 1s? It's your baby.
Oh, how do you? I described it last time as a top 10, apart from it's just a top 1 but the categories are useless and no use to anyone really. It's just find a very obscure thing to say, what's your favourite game in this very obscure category, and then we come up with it and hopefully have a bit of a chat with it and give you some ideas, even if the category is obscure. Hopefully the answers we gives you a little bit of taste of something that you might want to play.
That's so much better than what I was going to say.
And plus, it's like everyone does your top 10s and your top 3s. It's quite unique and interesting.
I thought it was something a bit different.
I really enjoyed recording the last episode, and I wasn't supposed to be on this one. I don't think you were you?
No, I wasn't there.
No, so I think me and Kerley are kind of stowaways on this episode just because of the last minute shuffle round. But yeah, I'm really pleased to be doing it like this, so I enjoyed it lots. Should we crack on with the first one?
Let's do it.
Right. What's your favourite game that has no VPs or victory points?
Well, with this one, I can cheat a little bit because there is kind of a whole genre of game that doesn't have VPs that I love, which is, if you want to say it's a genre, it's co-op games, right?
Yeah.
So for me, Spirit Island, Mansions of Madness, all these type of games I absolutely love, and they don't have VPs, so I'm gonna go ahead and claim, all right, Spirit Island if we want.
I thought you were going to claim all co-op games then. I was like,
I got in there first.
That's ruined now a lot.
Now suddenly realising this question maybe not that niche, might not be niche enough, but there we go.
But it's still an interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Because most do, don't they?
So talk to us about Spirit Island for a second then.
I won't go into too much detail because I think we did a couple of episodes, but Spirit Island is just absolutely fantastic co-op game where you play as a whole bunch of different spirits fending off colonial invasion from, when you do the more difficult side of the game, you end up having the invaders are like the Swedish, the English, I forget what other nationalities there are, Danish, Spanish, I think,
Portuguese,
maybe Spanish,
probably,
different countries during that kind of 1700s or 1600s exploration.
This is my land, sort of.
Yeah, that's it. But you're an isolated island that has its own indigenous population, and you're their spirit gods basically, and use your powers and your cards to fight them off. And I mean, to say there's good mechanics in that game is an absolute understatement, because it just feels so satisfying to play your cards and get money and swap your cards and get new cards. It just feels like a journey from the start when you're really struggling to I'm getting that card now, I'm really powerful. And it's quite challenging as well, especially with the different modes. So I think keeping it fresh is going to be easy.
Nice.
So looking forward to getting the expansions of that and giving that a go as well.
Yeah, there's plenty of expansions.
All of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we've considered looking at 2 or 3 of them already.
You're going to get them all.
I found with that, because we played at the 24-hour board game event, what I wasn't expecting is actually how much conversation. Some co-op games you kind of just play your own little bit and you're like, right, you're going to deal with over there, I'm going to deal with over here. There's quite a lot of, right, let's stop and analyse the board a little bit and work out, right, okay, have we got this part of the map covered? Have we got that part of the map covered? And I was just really impressed with that level of actually cooperative conversation that was naturally built into the game. I wasn't expecting it, so I think it's a great choice.
Well, because it's so asymmetric in a way that it's everyone has almost like a key purpose, a strength. That you can't do everything on your own. So I think I played a defender at the time, and if you're an attacking type, and it's really dumbing down the way you play this game, but if you play an attacker, you can't defend your own lands that you're mostly in, so you have to rely on other people to, and you really it's very, like you said, heavy on the interaction, which is
Right, you Adrian?
I had the same thought. I listed a whole load of co-ops off, and then sort of looked at my other board games that weren't cooperative and kind of went, what do I do here? And I'm just going to mention, as I say, I'm going to be a little bit sort of saying I'm going to write co-ops off then, because otherwise I could just list all the co-ops and just say Suro. If you've not played Suro, you move a little pebble around, you put a tile down, the tile's kind of got some wiggly lines, you move your pebble, which is a dragon, along the lines, next person round puts theirs on, and it's the last pebble on the board that wins. So everyone else eliminates themselves by putting stuff down and ended up wandering off the board by accident. And there's no victory points in it. It takes 15-20 minutes to play, max, if you sit there and study half the cards that you've got in your hand that you're putting on that little board.
Yeah.
And it's a real simple game. I know it's not for everyone. I've seen a few people sort of try and go, what's the game here? And I can kind of understand that. It's not a highbrow game, that's for sure, in the sense of really analysing everything. But it was the first one that I thought, that's competitive, but doesn't actually have any level of victory points, because even certain other games I thought of, it was like, well, best of 3, and I thought, well, is that victory points? If I win 2-1, have I won on 2 victory points to 1? Or that's the only game I could think of that was competitive that I've played plenty of and loved.
Yeah. You could cheat and say, well, the game doesn't call them victory points; it calls them prestige points, or it calls them something else.
It's against the.
But we all know they're VPs, don't we? Yeah. I'll be quick on mine. Got too many bones.
Yeah, that right.
I mean, it's one of my favourite games, full stop, and it doesn't have victory points.
There you go.
Easy. Done. Want to know more? Listen to episode 4.
I was going to say, you haven't mentioned much on this. Could you tell me more about what Too Many Bones
Episode
is?
4. Did a whole episode on it. I'm very proud of it. It's very good. Davey's given us his suggestions.
Okay.
As he can't be here today. He said chess.
Okay.
Which it makes sense.
Yeah. Not a game for me.
There is points in chess. I'm going to be mean and say.
Are you going to pull the points?
Yeah, I'm going to. So there's points for if you have a stalemate or if you run out of a timer. Every piece has a number of points, so you score points at the end. So the ultimate win condition is not around victory points, but like your stalemate win condition is around points.
I think probably I think
controversial.
Maybe count it as one that does count, but
I mean, I love chess. I've played a lot of chess, as I said before. So, like, yeah, as a game, love it, but might have to partially veto that.
Well,
Sorry,
he's not
Davey.
here to argue his.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Suck it, Davey. Should we go on the next one?
Yeah, do it.
Cool. Favourite game you don't own? So shall I start this one?
Go on, you start with this one.
My favourite game that I don't own, and I didn't realise this until I had a games day at my house, and it's Concordia.
Nice.
And I just loved playing that. Like, I just thought, why don't I own this game? And the answer is because I don't need to, because there's 2 people in the group that have it. That's the answer.
Yes.
That I tell myself. But just one of the things I love about the game is it's just rapid. Like, you play the card, you do the thing, next, get on with it. You play the card, do the thing. Now, what was it? 5 players?
We had 5 players.
5 players.
Yeah.
Just bloody zip round.
Yeah.
In 2 hours, roughly, maybe a bit longer. Love it. I just love that game. It's fun.
Yeah,
I really enjoy that, and I've played it a lot at 2 and 3 player as well, and I've played it now a couple of times at 5 player. It just scales really well. You just need different maps because a 5 player map is not going to do a 2 player game.
Yeah.
But as long as you buy a couple of spare maps,
then you're good, aren't you?
There's plenty in there for people. Love it.
Brilliant game. I think we talked about it in the pod before. But yeah, another Euro game set in the Mediterranean. Trading stuff, doing stuff, building stuff. But it's the hand management that's the best
It's
thing.
really satisfying game, to be honest. It is really good. It's one of my favourites as well.
When you look down at the board and there's all the houses out and you've got all your workers out and all that lot, and the board just looks full, and you think, yeah, we've done well here.
I remember I was really pleased myself because I think you fancy yourself at that game, and I drew with you, and I was really pleased for that.
That was the day where you drew about 4 games.
Yeah,
we played 6, 7 games, and you 2 drew on 4 of them.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if you lost out on the tie condition.
I did on nearly all.
On all of them, yeah.
I metaphorical draw, but literally lost.
Yeah, it's like, is your name Kerley? If so, you lose the tie.
Yes, that's
pretty
rule.
much like
that is the rule. Yeah.
Okay, what about you guys? What's your category?
Yeah, there's loads of games actually that I don't own that I absolutely love. And the reason being is because we've got such a good group here, which I would advise anyone to have as well. Because there
Saves you
are
buying
groups
them,
everywhere. Well, exactly. But more than that, it's good friends, but, saves me a bit of cash as well. It's never going to hurt. Mm-hmm. But no, I've got a whole bunch of them. But if I had to say favourite, I mean, most of them you own, JP. It's you who's got all my favourites, and I really want to buy them, and I'm just like, I don't need them. But I would have to say, oh my God, I'm going to have to make a decision. Okay, I'm just going to have 2. You can tough, I think, basically. Eclipse and Nemesis.
I knew Nemesis.
They're just right. Totally different games, but I love them equally in different ways.
Best thing I read today on Board Game Geek on the Eclipse forums. Yes, I do this
of course.
The 2 species expansion packs are coming next year, hopefully next year, and they have 2 species per pack, and it adds more player counts to the game, like we need a 10-player game.
Yeah. What kind of size table are you going to have to fit that?
I struggle with 6.
Oh, can't wait.
You'll have to get back in your carport again.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And again, this might sound a bit weird to the listeners, going back into your carport. But during the COVID days,
You
Right,
could game outside.
Kerley's got a carport. We're gaming outside. He had his was it your
plastering tables.
plastering tables, and you had the big kind of green felt thing you used for
For
Warhammer.
Warhammer back in the day.
Had that. You could probably comfortably get 10 people around that thing. That was great. Great fun.
Great times.
Game until
Didn't
2 in the
feel
morning.
like it at the time because it was bloody cold on some of those days.
We were pushing it. The summer was up until about October, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It's getting a bit nippy now, isn't it, doing this? Anyway.
But yeah, I would say those two, but I am struggling to separate those two, to be fair.
I mean, they're solid choices.
Yeah.
I would say that I own them.
Yeah.
Adrian.
So mine's one that Kerley owns, and a couple of other friends I've got outside the group own. It's Architects of the West Kingdom. Mentioned it before. There were plenty of big games I thought about, Too Many Bones and Nemesis and Eclipse and a whole load of other ones that we've played, including Spirit Island, which just had one game and I'm already like, can't wait for the next one. But I think Architects is one of those where I've played it quite a few times now, and I always look forward when it turns up on the group or when someone says I fancy playing that. I'm always like, yes, I'm there. Let's do it. It's a simple enough game, but it's got just a nice set of different strategies depending upon either the starting character you have or what's available out there from buildings and stuff like that. And it's just, it just breezes along. I like that game. It's, it's, as I think we mentioned it slightly before, but you have a whole load of workers. It's worker placement with like 20 workers, something like that, and you put them out, and then you can round up those workers, send them to prison for no apparent reason, and get the money for it, and then someone has to go to the prison to basically get them back to get their money for it as well, or whatever. And it's just a nice different twist, but it's just it just breezes along. I really enjoy that game.
Unlike most worker placement games, I think it plays really quickly.
It does.
I don't even know why. I can't put my finger on why, but I think it may be because you've got so many workers, you're not agonising so much over every decision. But it seems to play really quickly, and that's what I love about it. I think that's a key part of every game for me, because that whole AP waiting 20-30 minutes to come round to your turn, it's what really turns me off.
Yes, that
plays real quick.
for each worker you put there, you normally gain. So when you put a worker down, for each worker you already have there, you gain a bonus essentially.
Yeah.
So if it's a third worker of yours that you've put in that area, you gain 3 stone. Whereas if it was the first, you gain 1 stone. And so I find that my AP disappears, and I do get a little bit of AP occasionally. They've noticed, but it totally goes out the window because I'm thinking, well, look, they're going to get rounded up and sent to prison as soon as I put a third one there. But I've got 2 there already. Like, I might as well put a third one down now, get the stone, and then deal with the fact that I need to go and get them back at some other point.
Becomes more obvious what the correct decision is, I guess.
Yeah. And you don't feel so bad over making a wrong choice, because it's, again, you're placing so many workers down over a single game that I tend to find you kind of can't easily pinpoint where you went wrong. There might be lots of little mistakes and little choices, but you feel good getting a whole handful of...
But when you've only got 2 or 3 per generation or whatever the thing may be, it becomes a much bigger deal when you mess one up,
I need to play it more. I've only played it like twice, I think.
We always come out of these episodes with a list of games we're like, we must play
that. Honourable mention from Davey, Dune Imperium.
Nice.
Which I can testify he keeps borrowing my copy. Can I borrow Dune tomorrow? Yeah, whatever. I think he's actually...
I didn't know there was a JP library. I'll have to make a few withdrawals myself.
The old me would have said no.
But
to most people. But then I kind of got over myself a little bit.
Is it you getting over yourself, or you know us more, or a bit of both?
No, I think when I started the hobby, I was quite like, these are my precious babies and no one else would touch them, and I'd get really quite funny about it. Now I'm kind of like, life's too short.
To be fair, we've had Pizzagate, Lemonade Gate, Coffeegate,
Currygate.
I think it's at the
we've had Teagate as well.
Yeah. Liam, that was epic. That was. But you kind of have to, don't you? I suppose, or you'd never get them out.
Otherwise you'd never play anything, would you?
Yeah,
you're keeping them in a kind of air sealed vacuum. Forever, but anyway.
But yeah, Dune Imperium, I love.
Yeah, I'm gonna rubber stamp that one. I've shown it to so many people, and on their first play, they're like, "This is good," and you're like, "Yeah, it's just."
We've got it coming up, haven't we? I'm looking forward to
Sunday.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
It's happening. Right, moving on. Your favourite game that you hated on your first play, but then liked. I found this one so tough.
I found this really tough. I feel like I stick to my convictions of if I don't like it, it's not getting another play.
Like, burn it.
Do you think that's a bad trait of yours, out of interest?
Possibly. I think the thing is that I've had that confirmation bias with the number of times I've played a game that I don't like, and I've played it a couple more times and still not liked it, that I kind of feel like maybe I do know my own self, But I am sure there are games that I probably would have liked where I've gone, no, I didn't like the first play or the first 2 plays. I'm done. I don't want to see it again. And then, whereas potentially I could have just had a bad play or a bad 2 plays out of it.
Yeah. I've actually got a fairly solid answer for this one, actually.
Go on, then. Chuck it in the ring.
So, it's not, I don't know, you might not accept it, but it's actually to do with player count. So, I've played, now, Star Wars Rebellion. I played that at 4-player as my first play.
Yeah,
hated it.
It's shit
Thought
at
it was
4.
awful.
Shit at 4.
It's true.
Thought it was awful. Same goes for War of the Ring. Played that at 4-player. Hated it. Well, I didn't hate it because I love Lord of the Rings, but it was like, a bit too cumbersome, not enough to do. Split decisions always frustrate me.
No, it's like, do you want to play the game with one arm tied behind your back?
Well, not even.
That's
Yeah,
what it
it's
feels
like,
like.
yeah, it kind of feels that way. That's for the people I've played with. I don't mean that you're absolutely so rubbish that I'm tying my hand behind my back. But God, I've got a reputation around here. What I really mean is when you're not making all the decisions that mean whether you win or lose, it kind of feels a bit frustrating. But the same goes for it's happened in reverse. Like Spirit Island's a good example that I know you played it for and really enjoyed it, but actually it plays so much better at 2 or 3 that I think if I'd have played 4 first, I'd have struggled with it.
Really?
Because it was just so much more like everything going on at the same time. It was almost, not overwhelming because I played it before, but I was surprised you liked it as much as you did.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I have heard 2 and 3 player is better.
Definitely. 100%.
So, you do kind of, if you hear these little things, sometimes you take it into account when you're playing it, but I could see the puzzle, I could see the love there. I think for me, the thing with Rebellion, obviously I've played War of the Ring with yourself, but played it 2-player. Played Rebellion 4-player. It just felt like someone had just cut the roll down the middle.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And that was all they'd done. And
It's
so you were just playing
lazy
half of the game, and that was why I was like, maybe this isn't the best.
It's a 2-player game.
It's a 2-player game that they should never have made it 4.
Well, we can make it a 4-player game if we just divide the roll up in half. Yeah, let's put that in as a module. But we know it's crap. It's crap. It's crap, isn't it? Yeah, but throw it in anyway. Yeah. They didn't need to. And
they didn't need to.
Never recommend playing it 4-player.
But anyway, the point was I played it 2-player because I thought it's got potential. Played it 2-player, absolutely loved it, 100%. Like me and you, I think played a few times as 2-player, and we just absolutely loved it.
It's great.
Yeah.
So it's designed to be. So mine, I struggle with this because I tend to like most of the games I play. But the one game I have kind of picked is Dice Throne. And I still don't know whether I technically like it, but I have had a better time with it since my first play. So we played ages ago on the original Dice Throne, right?
Just before the last niche number 1s, because I think you trashed it in that episode, saying how terrible it was.
Yeah. And I just I don't know, it didn't click for me, whatever reason. And I think probably again comes to player count. We played it 3-player, and the look of the dice meant I was getting hit by you and I think Davey at the time. Got eliminated and then waited 40 minutes for the next game. So it was kind of one of those, this is a bit rubbish. But since I've been on holiday, Rob's got a Marvel version that he took, and we played it a few times, and it's gone up. I still don't know whether it's for me, personally. I still don't think there's enough in it for me. But will I play it? Yeah, I'll play it.
Yeah.
Is it my favourite? No.
No.
So that's the one I'm picking because I just can't think of anything else to kind of go in this category.
It's definitely a low depth game. Fun, but fairly low depth for me.
I think that might be why. I don't think there's just enough.
Well, no, I'd go along with that. I still like it. I still find it fun. Me and Rob play it, but yeah, I agree.
Adrian.
Oh, thanks. I'm going to sort of take the other end of the scale to what you did, JP, and I'm going to say this is a game that I was kind of on the fence about a little bit. I kind of could see what was going on, and then the more I've played it, it's probably the level I like. It's the game where I've had the most extra appreciation over more plays of the mechanics, and that's Villagers. So Villagers is a Sinister Fish game sort of thing. It's an engine builder kind of thing where you're drafting villagers off a road and then playing them into your town that then gives you victory points as you go on, I suppose.
I was just thinking thematically, you're like, these villagers come down the road, come into our village.
See, for me, this is where I think.
Them from.
Well, this is it. It's like so. Basically, you kidnap them off the road. Like this is the way I see it in my head. Is they walk down the road and you go, they look good, thonk. And if you don't, they get a coin on them where they clearly have got richer, and then you think, well, I'll kidnap them now. They've got more money in there.
I love that.
Dunk. Right back to it's the way that it worked in my head when I was first playing this. I suppose the reason why, going back to the point, the reason why I appreciate this game more is the first time I played it, we played the rules wrong. So basically 2 players split the entire deck of cards between them, and I was like, man, this is a long game, and we seem to have very much similar things between us. Second time played it, we got it right, but I was just like, I'm not quite sure how much of a difference there's going to be between games. And the more I played it, the more I could see those little... Again, it's maybe not the deepest game, but it's just got, depending upon what cards are available to you, you can change your tactics on the fly. And I just enjoy the way it grows and the options you have for quite a simple game. So it's the one where I started off maybe a bit cold. I definitely didn't hate it. It was in the collection. I was definitely going to play it more. But as I've played it more, it's sort of shot up the list of my sort of top 100 or whatever you want to.
I've only played it once. I really enjoyed it. So
it's really good.
I'd definitely be up for going again.
You're going to get the big box, aren't you?
No, that's Village, not Villages.
Villagers.
Yes.
Sorry, yes, the tile one.
The one where
the one I have played.
The one you have played, yeah.
Oh Jesus!
I did wonder that because we played it here.
Yeah.
wasn't gonna argue with you, mate.
That one we played at the game day at my house.
Yes.
So I was thinking Village. The Village.
Yeah. No, I do enjoy that, and I will be getting the big box. But no, this is Villagers. The sinister fish comes in the little long thing.
Yeah, keep up, Barnaby. Keep up. So. Cool. Davies mentioned Anachrony, which I remember he didn't enjoy that first play.
Davey seems to be a little bit cold quite a few times with his Mind Clash games when he first plays them, and then really sort of gets into them, it seems. So I'm wondering if it's a...
Yeah, I think Davey's approach to kind of heavy Euros is he'll lock onto a strategy and try to go deep on that strategy, and Mind Clash games don't kind of work that way.
No.
They kind of you need to have your fingers in many pies to actually be successful. And I think it's just his way of attacking the game, and it just didn't pay off. And he went, I did all this hard work and I thought everything through, and I've only got 20 points. And now, I've got 60. Damn you! And he's quite a competitive player, isn't he? So,
I was gonna say, let's hope Davey's not listening, but
he will be.
He will be.
He's
got to edit the episode.
Yeah, no, I do think that if Davey does badly at a game, I think it over represents itself in his opinion then of the game afterwards.
Yeah.
So as he gets better at a game, the game becomes better in his mind, and that's natural for everyone, of course. But.
Yeah, I think when you do well at a game, I don't know if it skews you, but the endorphins of go, bloody hell, I did well at that.
This is it. Yeah.
Just naturally helps, doesn't it? Right, let's crack on. Favourite game you've bought on a whim?
I'll go first with this one then. So mine was Magic Maze on Mars. This was one where a company who no longer exists was doing buy 6 and get a certain percentage off, or buy 3 and get a certain. So I got my 3. Got that, and I was like, right, okay, I fancy those 2, and then I couldn't work out what else I wanted to put in to get the extra percentage off.
Yeah.
And so I just looked through all the cheapish sort of 15 quid games, and they had this one. They had Magic Maze on Mars quite heavily marked down, and then it got me my extra percentage off all those extra board games. So it was one of the few games that I've picked up where I haven't researched it a lot, and it is a silly game. You can't talk to each other. You each have a colour. You can move pieces along that colour. And you've got to try and get all the bits to the end. And mostly you sit there infuriated that the person across the table hasn't seen what you've seen, while they're infuriated that you haven't moved the piece that you need to move. And so it is just, you can't talk to each other. You've got to move pieces along to get them to the point that then does something, and then you've got to move the next set of pieces along to the right location, kind of all doing it at the same time. It's a good laugh. It's good fun. It's not to be taken too seriously at all, but I've probably had the most sort of actual like people sort of properly laughing at playing this game and just being infuriated with each other. There's a big red sort of chunky pawn piece that is the I want you to do something piece, and the amount of aggression that goes on to slapping it down on the table in front of someone, say, will you just move the piece, is just unbelievable. It always has me in stitches. So yes, that was my bought on a whim. Didn't know what it was like, didn't really know what to expect, and had a great time with it.
The amount of tables that red massive kind of wooden piece is damaged because the people just go dag, 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 looking at them going, go on then, but you can't say go on then, you just do something. I've only ever played Magic Maze, the original, not the Mars version, but it's the same principle.
Yeah, you've got up, down, left or right each instead of the colours.
Except it's based in a shopping mall, but with barbarians, and it's a weird theme.
I was going to say it's sounding weird,
but it's the same principle.
Magic Maze on Mars is robots can only travel along certain routes, which you
Sure.
control those robots to get them
Sure.
to build the maze on the Mars colony and then land the people that are going to live there. It's again an odd thing. Perhaps makes a little bit more sense than barbarians in a shopping mall that can only go one way.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? But there we go. I'll be quick on mine. Dune Imperium was my whim purchase. I went to see the film, got hyped up, loved the film.
Yeah.
Went, ooh, I know there's a game about Dune. And I've already played the
Gale Force 9 one.
Gale
That's
Force
what it
9.
is.
Yeah, no, Gale Force 9 version. And that was a bit like, I wasn't that enamoured by that game personally. But I've heard a lot of good things about Imperium. Bought it, love it, nothing else to say.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough.
So,
I'm in agreement.
what about you?
So for me, I'm gonna kind of lean heavily on the Kickstarters here because most of those are whims in my book, to be
Yeah,
honest,
that's true.
especially over
That's
COVID.
true. All of them. are,
But yeah, the one that really I absolutely love, and it's not actually a group favourite. I know JP appreciates it. It's a game called Ikeon.
I've not played this. I missed
yeah,
out on
and
that game.
I just something about it just really piques my interest. But I only really bought it because there's a great big mech involved, and it was like, and it's not really even about that.
It
You
doesn't
know,
do
it doesn't
anything,
do
does it?
anything.
No.
It doesn't do a massive amount. It's called a Colossus, and just goes around and occasionally annoys you every now and again, but nothing major.
You steal these stone shards from it.
Yeah,
with a
steal
number
the
on.
stone shards, and that's kind of about it. But it's just such an interesting puzzle, and it's asymmetric. Kind of, you get dealt cards, which you get different equipment each time, different character each time. I really like it. I played it a few times now. We played it a lot 2-player, which is not really the kind of game that leans into a 2-player, but it was
Worked
COVID
well,
at
though,
the
didn't it?
time, and it worked really well.
Yeah.
And it's grown on me since as well. I really think there's a lot of depth to it. So yeah, I'm going
Unique.
to say on a total whim, that was
Yeah.
my biggest success.
Definitely a unique theme, unique kind of game. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Every time I've played it, it's been fun. Cool. Davey's mentioned Bitoku,
Okay.
which was at the UK Games Expo. He just wandered around, saw a very colourful box, went, ooh, that looks pretty, and he bought it. So luckily it was quite good.
Yeah, I've only played it once, and I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, good game, good fun. Right, let's crack on to the next niche number 1. So that is a favourite game without an available expansion. So for me, I interpreted this question as in it's a game where expansions existed and you can't get hold of them. That's how I interpreted this.
Oh,
I didn't think
So
yeah.
it might, but it could be interpreted in different ways. So for that way, I picked Trois. Because I cannot get hold of Ladies of Trois for love nor money, unless I really want to buy it from like Switzerland or somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quite enjoy Trois, and I actually drove near it on the way down to France from Calais.
There you
So
go.
that tickled me a little bit. Oh, it's a board game. It's amazing how many board games you recognise driving across France. Le Havre was one. Trois.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were quite near Carcassonne. We weren't. We're 2 hours away.
but
But we're
count
quite
it.
close. you know. And yeah, that was quite good fun to kind of look through it. So yeah, that's mine. But looking at your kind of reactions, I think you've interpreted this in a completely different way. That's fine.
Well, I've actually got a bit of a cheat because I think mine counts for both.
Oh, well, now I want to hear it.
Because Unfathomable and BSG.
Okay. Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica, because Battlestar Galactica, they're available, but not
For
for under
£200, yeah.
They're not in
for under
print.
200 quid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about they're out of print at the minute, and although the initial cost for an expansion was 40 quid, and
Yeah,
now they're more
that.
like 150 to 200 a piece. So I'm not paying that. I love board games, but not that much. And Unfathomable, which is the reskin, which is, they lost the rights to it, hence why it's gone out of print in the first place. But Unfathomable is the reskin set in the Lovecraftian kind of, aesthetic.
Mr. Wibbles.
Mr. Wibbles.
Mr.
I'm
Webbles.
waiting for it.
Yeah, and that hasn't got an expansion. I hope the word yet is involved.
Oh,
in
it's
that.
FFG. Of course, the word
Yeah,
yet is
I'm
involved.
hoping so.
It might not be as soon as you think.
No,
It might
we'll
be
see.
3 years away. But
It'll come.
It will come.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, BSG being hyper expensive and Unfathomable, hopefully with an incoming one.
Nice. Well,
Right.
I thought of this as one that doesn't have an expansion to it and just thought about it that way. But I've already mentioned
fine.
Village before. Village was a one way port.
Not villagers.
No, not Villagers, but Village. Port and in were, again, like, 20, 30 quid expansions that suddenly people were charging 60, 70 quid for. So they announced the big box recently. So very excited for that. My choice on the assumption that what this question meant was that there were no expansions available was Brass Birmingham, which I think it's number 2 on BGG. So I think people are probably fairly familiar with it. Good, but yeah, obviously you've got the 2 versions. You've got Lancashire, which is the original, and you've got Brass Birmingham. So there are 2 versions of the game, but it doesn't have a direct expansion. Again, I haven't played it enough. Like, in my opinion, I've played 4 or 5 games of it. And every time I play it, I find a new strategy or something else clicks, or I think, that didn't work that time. Let's try something else next time. And I always feel like I could play 20 games of it and still discover little bits and pieces that I think, you should have done that next time. You should do this next time, or try that.
Solid game.
It's a very good game. Yeah, really enjoy it.
I only played it once, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Davey said Ark Nova. So he's obviously gone down there. It hasn't got an expansion route.
Not quite right anymore.
I know, it's got some zoo maps.
Yeah, well, it's got 2 maps and they have announced the expansion. So
have they?
Yeah, they're doing an aquarium type one. Basically.
Fishy.
But that is due out early next year. But yeah, at the most recent expo, there was the 2 maps that came out.
The Gen Con.
The map pack 1, I think it's called, which means that there's going to be lots of different map
2 and
packs.
3.
So yeah, that one's available. You can get it online at the minute for about 35 quid, but obviously I'll just wait for retail release over in the UK, so it's only available in the US at the
Absolutely.
minute. So yeah, we'll wait for that to come out, but I'm hoping it's going to be sub 20 quid. So yeah, wait for that, and that's good.
Sounds good. Right. Okay. We'll go to the final niche number 1 question. What's your favourite game that has the most useless component? See, I had an answer straight away for this because it was a game that I played fairly recently before my holiday, which is Champions of Midgard. And in the Valhalla expansion, you get a little board that goes on your sideboard of your main character, your Viking leader that you play. And the sideboard's only purpose in the game is to hold your dead warrior's tokens on them. That's all it does.
Yeah.
What's the bloody point?
There's no
point. It's like, we got extra punch board, let's just put some boards on and away we go. So it actually has 2 useless components, because the other one in there is a circular disc that goes on your player board to show everyone what colour pieces you are, even though that your meeples have the same colour and people could work it out.
Right.
But there we go.
That does sound
it's kind of like, why?
Yeah.
But I love the game, but it's just one of those, why? Why
would you do that?
Yeah. What have you got?
Definitely Everdell for me. You've got 2 in that one. The tree does nothing more than hold. All right, it's a little platform to put your little guys on. You get, but I mean,
the tree sold that game. Would it have sold as well if it didn't have the tree?
No, absolutely. I suppose from a marketing point of view, it's very much required. But from a practical game point of view, it is not required at all. But an honourable mention to the expansion in, which one was it? Belfair, I think, that gave you a right-angled board for you to put your so your village was straight, your little Everdell town was straight. But it's just a little board, like a right angle, where you can keep your workers on one side and the other, but similar to what you did with the dead warriors. It's just for you to put your little animals on, really, and to keep it at a right angle. Yeah, totally not useful at all. Don't need it in the slightest. But there you go. It looked quite pretty. How
many does Everdell play?
Everdell plays 5 or 6. Yeah, definitely plays 5.
Yeah, I just
with the expansions.
I can't remember, but if it did play 6, it's kind of like that tree. Someone's going to have that tree right in front of them.
They can't see half the board because to the point where some of the expansions take the tree out.
Yeah, in all honesty, we don't play with the tree anymore. We just move it to one side and might have it a bit further back from the board because it doesn't do anything, not really.
And then you put the cards on there, and then you can't see them.
No,
you have to stand on the bottom.
Yeah, it's actively getting in the way rather than even being useless. Actively getting in the way.
The game.
I know it's not a group favourite, but I absolutely love it. By the way, were you, Adrian?
So he was going to forget me. Did you notice?
No,
I did. Yeah.
I wasn't.
He was. He had forgotten about you already.
And Davey's point now. Carry on.
So I went through originally my mind just went to all of the first player tokens that are ridiculously oversized and have no point. And I thought they are useful to some extent. They've just made them oversized for no point to fill up a bit of the box or to sell it on Kickstarter or whatever it is. So my actual choice is going to be Quadropolis.
Not played that one.
So it's a very basic city builder, like sort of thing, similar to Suburbia, but sort of much more basic. And when you set up between each turn, you've got a stack of tiles, very much like Carcassonne, that you have to shuffle, and then you put them out one at a time so that you get yourself a nice grid. Now, bearing in mind it's a stack of cards, like a stack of tiles that you can easily shuffle, they actually give you a bag that you're supposed to put all of them in and then rummage around and then pull them out one at a time to put on there. And I just thought that's going to do so much damage to my tiles. There's absolutely no way I'm just shoving all these tiles in willy-nilly to then like sort of swish around inside this bag and then put them out. So yeah, that's my choice. Is you've got a stack of tiles that are shuffleable in a hand. Like there's no issue with it, but instead they've given you this cloth bag to put all of them in, which will never see the light of day. It's never used.
Saying it worked for quacks.
Yeah.
for about 10 games, and then
you've got to buy capsules or whatever to put them in. But yeah, no, that was
melted.
That was the one where I generally took the component out of the bag, put it on the side, read through the entire manual, and then went, I don't know why I have a bag in this. And then it wasn't until I reread it through and it just says, put all these tiles that we had naturally shuffled into a bag. And I was like, oh, that's no point. Absolutely not happening.
Fair enough. Well, that's the end of the niche number 1's round 2. Excellent. Always good to get these. We've actually got a large bank of these, haven't we?
Yeah, I think there's so many random questions we could ask of different bits and pieces. But hopefully it's given our listeners something to think about, or a game that they've thought, yeah, that sounds like it might be.
Absolutely. And
might be good.
We'll no doubt do another round of niche number 1's very, very soon as new first players take over. So, shall we get on to the question then?
Let's do it.
And we're back with a question, and this is from Stuart again. He loves his questions, so I quite like picking them. So he asks, as we get more knowledgeable about game mechanics and game developers and publishers, etc., do we find that we suffer from game snobbery, and do we dismiss some of the less complicated or entry-level games as too basic, as in they're beneath us? Is this something that we suffer from? Or are we just kind of like, no?
I think I'm probably in the middle on this one, to be honest, because
snob.
I think I quite like medium weight and low weight games. Like in their right, I like party games, and we've done a lot of those. We love party games. Yeah. Like party games, I like mid-weight Euros, I like heavy Euros, I like a whole range of different games. So I would say, with my increased knowledge, I've come to recognise what I would call a bad game, or a game that could have been designed a lot better and is maybe a few years old and people just have a lot of nostalgia for, or it's a good entryway for them to realise the hobby has a lot more better advanced games now. I don't think that's snobbery. I think that's education as far as that goes, because there are still some games that are really solid that do fit into that bracket that I've still got a lot of time for. But I'm never going to say, this is, I don't know whether even to say it, but like, the Monopoly is not a good game. It's not a good game, but people love it, and if you like that with your family, then that's absolutely great, but there are just so many games that do the similar thing better, and so...
There's a lot of games that do.
Exactly, so it's just, I don't think that's snobbery, I think that's just seeing all these different things, but there's a lot of games like, I've still got a lot of time for Risk and Cluedo and all those type of games because I think they're fairly unique. There's not a lot like them and they're quite interesting, but yeah, I think there are some games that don't, when you go into the hobby, don't age well, if you like.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's snobbery though.
No, that's just, I think you said it on a previous episode where you're trying to compare like a Spectrum game to an Xbox Series X game.
Yeah, that's it.
And Spectrum games are way better.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're not. Some of them are. Jet Set Willy, for all the old school gamer fans out there.
Dizzy the Egg.
Dizzy the Egg.
Dizzy the Egg.
Yeah. Why is there not a board game version of Dizzy the Egg? Someone needs to make that.
Probably a fair point. Yeah, I remember those games when I was a kid. I'm interested to hear what Adrian thinks of this one, because I think you're probably the one with the biggest gaming history.
Yeah, I think there are. So I started to nod along to this question, and he mentioned at the end the complicated bit, games that are more complex or less simple, and I suddenly went, oh no, because there are games I'm done with. I've played them a lot, I'm done with. If someone cracks it out and says, let's play this, I'll be like, yeah, fine, whatever. But my snobbery, I think, comes to do more with production value. So if the symbols don't make sense, if I look at a board game teach on YouTube, and the pieces or the symbols, or I start looking at a rule book and the rule book is dreadful, then I think I've got a level of snobbery around that where I've started to notice more when as soon as I'm watching like a YouTube, if I don't think it makes sense, or the symbols, or there's like just one really, really sort of botched rule that they've had to squeeze in to make the game a little bit more. All those kind of things, I feel like, I've probably got a bit more snobbery around that, around the aesthetics and the production value of it. But like yourself, like, no, I still like some of those really simple games. You know, we've talked about Bandido. Bandido is just a maze, like you're creating a maze there's no level of complexity about it, but it's still one of my most played games because you can play it in 5 minutes and have a good laugh and like, oh, why didn't we get the bend we needed at the right time and stuff like that. So complexity-wise, no, I think that it's that, as you say, kind of maybe not bad games. I do think, I have spotted some bad games and gone no, but just if it's a bad rule book, if it's got awkward symbols or an awkward turn sequence that I can see just doesn't quite work, then I think I'm a bit more picky about that. Where I've seen some games where after 10 plays I'm still like, what was that symbol again? It looks identical to this symbol or whatever it is. And I think that's where maybe my sort of snobbery or level of kind of I'm just not going to play that again.
So I don't even notice some of the stuff here, because I can take your point exactly about Dune Imperium. First time we met, I think, and you had a big issue that, like, you loved the game, same as we all did, but you had a big issue with the aesthetics looking too close to each other. You weren't sure which space was which, and I wouldn't have even noticed. But you're absolutely right in Dune Imperium. That's its probably only weakness in my eye.
No, that's fair, isn't it? I think kind of for me, like, I've evolved through gaming, like I think most people do in the hobby, right? You start off with certain games and you feel like you level up from them, and like you said, Adrian, I'm done with that one. Don't think I ever feel the need or desire to play these particular games again because you found better versions or other ones that scratch a better itch, etc. So I think that's just the natural kind of progression in the hobby of just getting on to different games. But for me, I kind of will play anything. I'm kind of like, whatever. I'll play anything. I'll try anything once, regardless of weight. So I'm not like, oh no, that's a light game.
It says it's 2.9 on Board Game Geek. I can't possibly play something that low. I don't even entertain that at all. But then equally, I quite like the fact that there are games out there that are in the higher end go, played that. That's quite nice. So I suppose there is an element of, we've managed to crack over a 4+ complexity game and it was fine. I must be really intelligent. No, you're not. It's just the way. Especially if you lost.
I did a lot and I didn't know what was going on. But no, I don't think I suffer from snobbery, apart from the usual Monopoly bashing, because I can't do it. I literally gave my copy away to a family member because they wanted to play it on New Year's Eve and I just refused.
I just refused to play it. I don't think any of us are snobs when it comes to this, but I think there are some games we personally wouldn't play.
Yes. Like
Monopoly as an example, but that's not like, they all have their place. I would never look down on anyone for playing them, but I'm not interested anymore. That's really what it comes down to.
And it is interesting because I do think that while board games have less gatekeeping in them generally, I do still think it's susceptible to gatekeeping. I have certainly seen people sort of say, oh well, you know, this person isn't into Brass Birmingham or Eclipse, can we really consider them like part of our gaming group, or are we happy to play games with them? Or
that's just bullshit.
Oh, are you real gamer if you haven't ever played Twilight Imperium? And it's just like, no, that's not a thing. No. Yes, the Monopoly bashing thing is odd, and I kind of understand why some people don't like it. But yeah, to a point earlier, I think it's a game that has a quite high level of complexity. But because it's in the sort of zeitgeist, people know it, people think it's a simpler game. Whereas I think the actual, what you get out of a quite complex game, I could show someone a much less complicated game and they'd probably get more out of it if they knew.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do still think that part of this question is around is there gatekeeping involved? Where as you've got on in the hobby, are you now considering gamers who've only been in it 6 months, 3 months, whatever less? And I'd like to think that we don't, but I have certainly seen it.
Oh, I've seen it
out there.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it, and yeah, it shouldn't be in the hobby at all. But like most hobbies, I'm sure it exists.
having been part of things like, you know, trading card games, Magic the Gathering, and stuff like that, and you know, it's Horus Heresy is just re-released for Warhammer, and the gatekeeping going on in that at the moment is crazy. But it's like you've got loads of new players who are really excited to play this game. Like, get them involved, get them. Yeah, you might have to teach them. Yeah, you might have to put up with these niche rules that they don't know, because Games Workshop games tend to have a level of weird rules, complexity, interactions like Magic does and other games do. But just get them involved, get them excited. Yeah, maybe don't invite them to your like crazy tournament evening or whatever if you're worried that they're going to dent into it. But that's not to say don't ever play them. Don't invite them along to events. Just maybe warn them. This is going to be uber competitive, and we might make you cry because you don't know half the rules. And but you then set that expectations, and you invite them to the big narrative events. You invite them to the game days where anyone can come along and all that kind of stuff.
Some great points.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks again, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
Keep them coming in. Right, let's get to our penultimate turn. Let's do it. Now it's time for us to talk about what we're excited for. So what's coming up, what you're looking forward to. Holidays are over. I need this. I need some excitement because my holiday's done. So what we got coming up? Adrian, I'm going to you first, mate.
I've got a couple of birthdays coming up actually, where people have decided that they want to play board games all day, which I'm all on board for.
Sounds awful.
Listener of the show and someone who regularly comments, Marcus has a birthday day coming up where we're going down to Exeter and playing a few games.
Nice.
Don't know what I'm going to be playing, but I'm going to take a load along and see what we end up playing. I've got a few other friends who don't get much chance to play board games. They're coming along as well, so really quite excited for that one.
Great.
And then we've got Kerley's coming up.
Yay.
I won't name an age. But
doesn't bother me, mate.
It's got 0 in it.
I'm quite proud I've got this far, frankly.
Yeah, well done, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we've got a games day coming up for your birthday as well, and looking forward to that and seeing what we fit into that as well. So yeah, ironically, like 2 weekends in a row, I got 2 big birthdays where they were like, let's play some board games.
Yay.
So yeah,
sounds good. Good options. Curly.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to take a bit of a different approach, although I am looking forward to my birthday and stuff like that. And there's a few games that I do want to try out. I'm really looking forward. I've got a couple of Kickstarters coming very soon that I'm really looking
they're nearly
to.
there.
They're nearly there, mate. We've got, like I say, we've got a few, but the Northgard is probably the one I'm most looking forward to. Nice. I do really want to get to the table Europa Universalis. I wonder whether it will be too much for me. So I'm saying I'm looking forward to it, but with a little bit of trepidation, if I'm honest.
Is this XL 97, is it?
Yes, exactly that. So yeah, so we'll wait and see on that one. But yeah, both of those are due very soon. And there are other stuff as well. Frosthaven has just announced that it's likely to be Christmas to January for a potential delivery. So a bit far in advance, but I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah.
Nice.
Good. And yourself?
Yeah.
What's going to get you out of the post-holiday blues?
Hopefully anything, man. No, there are two things actually. One is Kickstarter related and one isn't. And the Kickstarter related one is Gen Con. They've shown off the Chip Theory games. Surprise. They've shown off the Hoplomachus Victorum production copy.
Oh, nice.
Which is the gladiator fighty battle game, and that just looks bloody stunning. So I'm like really hyped and excited.
Right up my street, so
yeah, you'll love it. I mean, Victorium's a solo only experience, but the remastered, of course, I've got that. That's a full on team squad.
Co-op, yeah,
nice.
Like bash each other, team v team, all that kind of stuff. So that I'm looking forward to that, just because it just looks really good. But in terms of gaming events, next week we start the Perseverance Chronicle mode.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that completely.
I forgot about it until 2 seconds ago.
Yeah,
so
I was like,
awesome.
oh shit, that's like next week, and I really need to learn the rules for that and get it going. But because we've already booked the 4 games in, because if we don't, it will be forever.
Happen, yeah.
And yeah, just looking forward to giving it a go, see what it's like, see how it develops.
Me, you, and T-Bone, isn't it?
Yeah, we kept it 3 players because actually it's just the sweet spot I think for that game. Yeah. Just plays that little bit quicker.
Just slightly too long between turns.
Yeah,
4, I think.
It's the fact that you've got 2 actions, like the primary and secondary action on your go. It just takes that little bit longer to get round, and I think with 3, it's just a lot slicker. So looking forward to it.
Good, yeah.
So there we go. We got there.
Definitely.
Hopefully, Davey, we've done you proud, and hopefully you get better soon, mate, and
Yeah.
you can return and hold the reins. If not, one of us will be
Yeah.
carrying it on. So yeah, we've got to the end of the show. I just want to say thanks to all the listeners, as always, and if you've liked the show, please like, subscribe and review on your podcast player of choice. And if you want to get in contact with us on the show, you can on our email address, which is players@whosturn.co.uk, or check out Facebook, Whose Turn Is It Anyway Podcast. On Instagram, it's at Whose Turn Podcast, or on TikTok at Whose Turn Is It Anyway. And we'll be back again in 2 weeks with another episode. So stay frosty, everyone.